So I'd like to start with the Kahekili ecosystem recovery and eventually return to this herbivore management area, which is a rule change that I hope will come into play and lead into some suggestions for ecosystem level management. The botany team that's listed here, myself, Megan Daler, are the HCRI employees, our affiliates. Ivor Williams is also HCRI, but we've, through this network, pulled in Russell Sparks from DAR and had significant contributions intellectually as well as person power in the field from Chip Hunt, USGS, a group that hasn't really entered into many discussions, although they're a great resource. So many of you may know, but I have been asked to comment on the algal issues on Maui for the Oahu audience. There's a lot of interest that Oahu people may not know about. This is not a typical beach on Maui, but it is a picture of the area in the Kihei region with a significant bloom of Hypnea muciformis, the red alga that sits on their beaches. With studies that were conducted through the EcoHab funding, this is another NOAA program, I'd like to just point out in this left-hand corner, we're clocking growth rates for that plant at 50% per day. Per day. So that's a doubling time of 2 days. In shallow waters, washing up on beaches, stranding biomass that has, through an HCRI collaborative economic assessment back about 2003, been estimated to cost the county $20 million a year in lost revenue. $20 million a year in lost revenue. How many years do you have to have that run, that lost run, in order to pay for a new sewage treatment plant, for instance? These are issues that through this research we've been actually able to approach the mayor's office. I understand Mayor Tavares may be here. Is she here in the audience? Well, we have already spent some time talking with her about some of these issues, and she's very receptive to the kinds of strategies for change that can come from science going into the community. The work that preceded this year of HCRI funding is actually the collaboration with Chip Hunt and the NOAA EcoHab funding. We proposed to study initially the algal blooms over in this portion of Lahaina side of Maui. Wendy Wiltsey gave us a lot of advice as that proposal was being put in, including Celia, plan for something when the Cladophora bloom doesn't occur and you're funded. So we had, through Wendy's advice, added other sites down here in Kihei where the wastewater treatment plant injects about 3 million gallons of treated sewage into the ground each day. With the work by Chip Hunt and the modeling, we were able to document for the first time that the injection plume actually reaches the shore in a plume that's about a mile or 1.5 kilometers wide. In the earlier era, in the 90s, research that had a significant focus on the Hypnea bloom, I don't think there was ever a concrete evidence that the injection well was actually in communication with ocean waters. Chip also, through his modeling, was able to show the levels of injected nutrient as 7 times the background nitrogen in the area, 30 times for the phosphorus coming into those coastal waters. With the natural attenuation from groundwater flow, this drops back to about 3.5%, or 3.5 times, excuse me. But it's obviously has the potential to be a significant driver for algal production. Here's his simulation of the plume as it impacts the coastline, with the orange colors being the highest concentration, and as you go farther from that, to bluer colors. So one of our field sites is actually right here, right above the label for that, for Kalama Park. We know through Chip's work that stable isotopes of nitrogen particularly can be useful markers. I just want to point out this red box in the bottom here for manure and septic waste, and the numerical values that you see going up to is about as high as 25 in the water. This is not in any algal tissue in the water. He found that with his own models that was again reported, and I'd like to point out the URL at the bottom for the technical report that was written and published. Please take a look at it. He's done, I think, a terrific job in laying a foundation for us to see this kind of connection between a land use activity like an injection well and a connection to coastal environments. So he was detecting in those waters that had wastewater components numerical values for the stable isotope del N15 from 15 to 20. Hold on to that number, because with Jen Smith's studies, we were able to show that it's pretty comparable values for algal tissue. So sampling along coastlines, we were detecting numerical values for the stable isotope of nitrogen at that same or approximately the same numerical value, i.e. the plants are deriving most of their nitrogen from sewage or manure of some kind. And if you pay attention to this coastline plot, you can see this region where the injection well has one of the highest circles, the largest values for stable isotope levels for Hypnium usiformis in that Kihei region. And the right panel is Ulva fasciata, a second species that blooms abundantly. Jen concluded her report, which was submitted to the county. This was a portion of this was county funded, to show that in fact the stable isotope values if plotted against wastewater grown algae, this is the value from Steve Dollar, actually are in the region of the injection well plume, the Halama Street portion of Kihei, are nearly indistinguishable from the values that we got for the algae from those regions. So it's quite clear that from an algal physiology point of view that the Kihei algal bloom is sustained by sewage, with the greatest blooms in the regions where we see these high stable isotope values. It's not a convincing bloom over the entire area. There are some regions where those values drop off, and then some other high hotspots, if you will, then mark areas that I later understood are places like Wailea, where I think there's an injection well being used there.